हम आपको लिए चलेंगे जीएसटी परिषद के बैठक के बाद वित्त मंत्री अरुण जेटली प्रेस वार्ता कर रहे हैं।
इसको कैसे फिटमेंट करना है और एक बार उनकी रिकमेंडेशन आएगी तो वो फिर उससे अगली जीएसटी काउंसिल मीटिंग में आने की संभावना होगी। तो इन अ नटशेल इफ आई मे पुट इट that the compensation law was approved in the last meeting, the 11th meeting. Today we have approved the CGST law and the IGST law, and in the next meeting we'll be approving the UGST and the SGST laws, which will then complete the legislative exercise and enable us to take these legislations before Parliament. So as it looks like, it looks on track. Hopefully, the laws would be before Parliament in this session and subject to the Parliament approving them. 1st July this year, now optimistically looks like the possible date for implementation of the GST. That's all I have to say.
Sir, what enabling provision of higher fee rate has been made and the reason behind that?
Actually, this story was going around yesterday in the newspaper. The question before the council was that we are approving this law for a long time. We are approving it for at least 5 years. Now, suppose right now the slabs are already decided by GST Council 5, 12, 18, 28. There is not going to be any change in that. That decision remains of the council. But just because in the law you have to provide the maximum ceiling which you are allowed to charge. And so the committee, the council felt that in order to leave some scope for higher GST, and particularly after a period of 5 years, when suppose we may have to merge some of the items of cess, because when the compensation is not required, one possibility could be that some of the cess could be merged with the GST itself rather than keeping it as a cess. So in that case, let us have a higher limit which is authorized by the Parliament and the Assembly. But within that limit right now, there is not going to be any change in the rate structure. It will be 28% maximum.
The rates will be what has been decided by the council. There won't be a higher rate of taxation. But the cap rate in the legislation is always put at a higher level to leave a headspace. Just as in the Customs Act, you have a difference between the bound rate and the applied rate. So the applied rate is going to be what the council has decided.
You talked about some changes to the legal language in case for CGST and IGST, which will be approved by the legal committee. Does that mean that it will again come back to the council, or
No.
it will not come back?
No. These changes are really language changes only. Need not come back. As far as the council is concerned, it's been approved, but we will take the extra precaution after the legal committee approves it of sending it to every state before we take it to the cabinet.
And we will all of this together to the cabinet. So,
They will go collectively to the cabinet and the reason why all legislations will go collectively before the cabinet and hopefully collectively before Parliament is that there are cross references to each other, each law in the other law. So they'll have to be considered as a package.
So you have capped the highest tax rate at 20% each for central and states. So will there also be a cap for cess rate in the compensation?
No, cess is only transient, and
That also will be. There will be a rate. There will be a rate given, maximum rate.
so the maximum rate will be mentioned.
Maximum rate
In the compensation.
in the company.
But in the current law, the applicability is what the council has decided so far.
सर रेस्टोरेंट्स को लेकर बताया जा रहा है कि एक रेट तय हुआ है 5% का, वो उसके बारे में जैसे ये कहा गया है कि रेस्टोरेंट्स को रखा गया 50 से कम
Composition.
5%.
Composition का है वो.
Actually, the earlier decision of the council was that composition scheme up to 50 lakhs turnover would be applicable only for trading as well as for manufacturing, except certain industries. So services it was not applicable. But then a point was raised in the last meeting that restaurants should be included in the composite scheme, particularly smaller restaurants with less turnover. So the council decided that There will be a composition scheme for restaurant up to a turnover of 50 lakhs. So those restaurants which are having a turnover up to 50 lakhs will be covered under the composite scheme, and the rate for them will be 5%, 2.5 by the state, 2.5 by the center. So total of 5% will be applied to those restaurants whose turnover is below 50 lakhs. For the remaining restaurant, they will come in the regular service tax rate.
तो ये आप प्रेस वार्ता देख रहे थे। जीएसटी काउंसिल की बैठक के बाद वित्त मंत्री प्रेस को संबोधित कर रहे थे और उन्होंने साफ तौर पर कहा कि कई मसलों पर फैसला हो चुका है, जिसमें IGST लॉ, CGST लॉ, इन पे परिषद ने फैसला ले लिया है, जबकि आने वाले वक्त में और कई मुद्दों पर फैसला होना है और 4 GST और कानूनों को अंतिम रूप दिया जाना बाकी है और GST को लेकर पूरी प्रक्रिया सही गति से आगे बढ़ रही है और उम्मीद की जा रही है, ये वित्त मंत्री कह रहे थे कि वो तय समय पे लागू हो जाएगी GST।